identify pro-black.
History is about teaching us as a people that we're at war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Hotep, everybody, how y'all doing? This is Jah of the Jah and Kev show. My partner sitting right across from me. That's Kev. And today we want to talk about a subject that I kept thinking about, so I wanted to bring it up, and Kev and I were going to discuss it. But the discussion we're going to have today is called Sacrificing for the Progress of Our People. And before we get started, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. And that's what we want to say today. We want everybody to tell a friend about the Jah and Kev show. We come on every first and third Saturday, I should say, at 1 o'clock Central Time, 2 o'clock Eastern. But we want viewers to subscribe to our broadcast because this information we talk about is real hot. And so having said that, I'm going to ask Kev, first of all, about sacrificing as far as why should we be having this discussion, Kev, sacrificing for our people?
Well, I know we brought up sacrifice during the last show. And the Silence of the Lambs. And it's like, you know what, that'd be a great topic. I know you jumped on that.
Yes, sir.
Sacrifice is important. I think you can't achieve anything pertinent in life without sacrifice. There's no discipline that you can partake in that you don't have to sacrifice.
Right.
And that's the bare minimum. And we are people that are in need of sacrificing.
Yes, sir, Kev.
Because there are things that we want. So any goal that you have to sacrifice to reach your goals.
That's true. And then when you look at our condition, I mean, we're in a pitiful condition in many instances. So it's going to take sacrifice to uplift the community, to uplift the educational aspect of our kids, to uplift all the things, just like our ancestors had to make a sacrifice. And basically, when we say sacrifice, we're talking about giving up something that's important for a greater progress. That's all. Right. And I'm going to talk more about when I get my turn, I'll talk more about what that requires. What does it mean when we say sacrifice? You know,
and one thing you said our predicament, you know, and the thing I think probably a big problem that we have in our community is many of us don't realize our predicament.
Whoa.
They don't realize the urgency and the emergency that we are in.
Yeah.
And they don't see it as an emergency type situation. They don't even see the urgency of needing to sacrifice things, and they're comfortable.
Wow, Kev. With all the stuff we see going on now, the police brutality, the communities are falling down, dope and drug dealers in the communities. There's so much going on relationally and even with racism. And you're saying they don't see it, Kev?
Well, I think we're fractured.
Okay.
We have a fractured mentality, like that's happening to them. Well, that's happening because of us.
Okay.
And one thing that I'm gonna bring up this, and this is probably a little controversial. When I brought up Bill Cosby before, when he was basically condemning the black community about not being able to read and kids, you know, doing this and that, black men jumping on the women, and single parent, and he was being very condescending towards us.
Right.
And my thing was, that's on the surface, because you have to understand there is someone that is causing this to happen in our community.
Right.
And there's things that have taken place that has caused us to go astray. So instead of getting on the people, the victims of the stray, get on those that caused this situation, or try to correct it, things that has caused us to be in this predicament, the schooling, the education system, you know, all of those type of things.
Okay, that's good, Kev, because we're going to talk about that, because we have to know that there has to be an ongoing commitment to sacrifice. You know, we can't sacrifice like one day and then say, okay, I'm done. Because when you think about what our ancestors sacrificed, and this is why I'm so heavy into Afrocentric historical information, because when you take any one of those persons that came before us and you see what they've done, the sacrifices that they made, we don't have time to talk about them all today, but when you think about some of the sacrifices that our ancestors laid down for us as far as their lives, some of them gave up so much so that you and I can have this broadcast. And so I'm saying that we have to honor and respect the sacrifices of those in the past and know what those sacrifices meant to them as it relates to us, how we benefit from those sacrifices. And then we'll be able to apply those sacrifices, hopefully, to our own lives.
And I think that's the main thing you said was if we see and understand what they've done,
or
we understand where we're at, because others were standing on the backs of others. And we even spoke about this when others come over here that look like us. They don't understand the sacrifices that we have made as a people to allow them the comfort of coming over here and making something of themselves. So then they judge themselves looking at us and then looking at them and say, well, we work harder than y'all, we do more things. You're only able to do more things because we allowed you. We hope we paved that road. So I think, and then on our end, a lot of us don't realize, you know, we take the things for granted that we're able to do and not understand the sacrifices that has been made for in the history.
Wow, Kev, that's heavy, because I think about us as men, and then I look at our women, and we're by no stretch of the imagination are we any chauvinists here at this broadcast. We love our women. Our sisters are high on our list. But when I think about us men in any civilization, when it comes to sacrificing, it appears that men and women make great sacrifices. But the men in our communities right now, today, in the 60s, I think about the sacrifices of many of them. But sometimes when I think about some of us today, not all of us, but some of us today, men, we don't seem to see the importance, you know, of the very process of what sacrificing entails. And this is why a lot of us are in the condition we're in, because many of us men, we're not thinking about sacrificing because we're too busy thinking about other things.
Right. And I think what an important thing with that is the men have been targeted harder, because that's how you debilitate a community, as you destroy the soldiers, the men. It makes it easier for them to control you when your man is not standing strong or not in unity or in unison.
Right.
You know, we should be bonding together, saying, you know what, this is what's wrong in our community. What do we need to do, Jah? And I'm not talking about, hey, go get your gun. I'm talking about we need to control our education. You know, we're supposed to be the pillars. So when you want to tear down the structure, you get rid of what's the pillars.
Wow.
And that's what they're doing. They target us harder than they target. We hear people like the women are able to get jobs easier. And they have to understand what's happening too. Because then what happens is when they think that they're above us, that's placating to the plan, the system wanting to tear us down and tear apart our household. And now we're bickering with our woman. And if she's making more money than us in the system, we got to understand that this is how the system wants it to be. So our men are targeted. You know, that's the main thing I want to get. Our men are targeted. So we have to target our men also. Guys like me and you, we have to target our boys. We have to target our men. We have to spend that extra time and effort to try to correct the situation to open their eyes.
And this is what this broadcast is about, the Jah and Kev show. This is a broadcast about sacrificing. I mean, you could be doing some of anything every first and third Saturday. So can I. But we have to sacrifice our times. There may be times where we don't feel like it, but it ain't about how we feel. This is necessary, and we have to give up something to do something, because these teachings have helped me immensely in my life on a personal basis, because what we talk about is not just rambling and talking. We apply these to our lives, and I can see the benefit from doing this broadcast. But, you know, I wanted to also say that sacrifice has to do with commitment, Kev. You have to be committed to a cause. And as many issues as we have today, you would think that we can get together as groups of people and begin to solve some of these problems, but that's going to take sacrifice. And I go back to this commitment aspect of it. You have to be dedicated to this thing. You have to, everything in your fiber has to be given so that our people can be elevated. Because when you look at our people, even when it comes to just in our communities, we always gripe and complain about Asians coming in and selling us hair and selling us fingernails and doing all these pedicures and manicures. And that's true. But then what are we going to sacrifice for to make sure that doesn't happen? What are we going to sacrifice for so that we can go to our own stores and help our own people and put that money back into our community?
Man, you know, you said a mouthful there. First, I'm going to say this. Sacrifice takes discipline.
Okay. Oh, man.
It takes discipline.
Yeah.
And you got to be steadfast. You have to want it. And when you spoke about me and you doing this show on a Saturday, we could be doing anything. And it's not about self-grandizement. This is not about me promoting me and you promoting you. And we just want to be seen. We're taking time out to want to relay a message to our people.
Sir. Yes,
and it should be other brothers that say, man, hey, I want to come on y'all show because I want to be part of this plan. I got a plan also. I got even a better plan. I don't care how you think.
Right.
You know, but we should have brothers saying, you know what, this is where the smoke is at.
Yes, sir.
We need a fire.
Yes, sir.
And let me add on to the fire. Let me add some fuel to the fire. Let me help y'all brothers do this.
Yeah.
Or let me show y'all brothers what we doing over here. That's what we should be having.
Yeah.
And but I mean,
hey,
it's gonna be what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
But and maybe people will relate. Hey, man, the brother's trying to do something. I'm not saying that I'm, you know, this great philosopher.
Right.
You're not saying you're this great professor.
Right.
But we're brothers that are concerned about the situation and the predicament of our people. And we got to correct that situation.
And this is why we keep harping on. We want you to tell friends about the Jah and Kev show. I mean, this is a very important and serious discussion that we often have when we get together. It's not clownish. It's not buffoonery.
Yeah.
This is always something serious that the community can take. Individually, we can take it and we can learn and we can grow from it. So this is why we talk about telling people about the Jah and Kev show. Subscribe to us. You know, this is what we're talking about, brothers and sisters alike. You know, and if you want to talk about this subject, which we want to open our phone lines because we want to hear what you have to say about this sacrificing. The number is 361-405-6111. Again, that's 361-405-6111. We would love to hear what you have to say about sacrificing, because that's a strong word, Kev. That's a powerful word.
Everyone could sacrifice something. The most basic thing that you could do is sacrifice your time and effort.
Okay.
To get something done. We're sacrificing our time and we're putting forth an effort for a cause.
And it takes energy too. You know, you want to have to do some work, Kev. You see, a lot of times we want things to happen, but we don't want to do the work.
Right.
See, and so always ask, did you put the work in? No matter what one does, if they're successful, you have to realize that there had to be some kind of energy spent in that area. There has to be some kind of work. But oftentimes we look at situations and we think that if we just get on our knees, and I'm not against a Christian, I'm not against any religion, but if we think that if we get on our knees and ask for something, that it's going to pop out of the sky. You know, we think that if we just sit around and cry and complain and moan and groan, we have to make it happen ourselves, Kev.
Right. And I'm going to say this, man. Wanting something or asking for something without sacrificing, then all you're doing is begging. You have to make a sacrifice to empower yourself. We can ask them to do or demand. If you want it done, you could demand it. But if you demanding it without any kind of power, then all you're doing is begging. They're gonna call your bluff, and they've been calling our bluff. And I think that this is one thing I do want to say. You mentioned about the Asians or whomever come in our neighborhoods and the sacrifices that we have to make to empower ourselves. And many of us have to look in the mirror, because I've had this conversation with a lot of people I know. And I say, hey man, it's a black restaurant here. And I used to post it all the time. I post myself in front of it. It's the name of the restaurant. And I say, this place is here. And I remember, I'm gonna tell y'all something local, Tank's Pizza. It's the only black owned pizza parlor in San Antonio. Brother that came from the neighborhood opened up a pizza joint. I spoke to him. I went in there and I talked to him personally when he was starting out. And he said all the flack that he was getting from the people in the community about like your prices. You know, hey man, you want $8 for a pizza? I could go get this $1 pizza.
Sacrifice.
Peter Piper. And they don't understand, or Little Caesars or whomever. Y'all know who I'm talking about. $5 pizza. And he was saying they don't understand. He said, but that's a franchise, that's a national. I can't compete with them. And the only way I'm going to be able to compete is if y'all patronize me, empower me. Then I could buy things in a bigger boat. You know, but we have to make those type of sacrifices. And this is the conversations I constantly get in with people. Banking with a black bank. You know, those are our economic empowerments that we can have. But we like, what kind of benefits do I get here? They don't give me the same benefits as Wells Fargo. Yeah, they probably can't right now. But Wells Fargo is the same one that said that they don't have any diversity in their upper structure because there's not enough black and brown qualified people. So they don't think we're qualified to work for them in their upper structure, but qualified to take our money.
Wow.
And we're empowering them to become more powerful.
That's real heavy, because I've often been challenged when people ask me this question: why should I support a black business, or why should I do this? Their prices may be a little bit higher. And I always tell them the same answer. The reason we should support them is because once we support them on a large scale, we can drive that other rascal out that's in our community, that's taking our money, even though they may cost less, and we can do our own things. We can also put back into the community, you see. Right. And that's the conversation that a lot of people don't like to have. But I got to say this, Kev, and I'm going to open it up because I know you're going to maul this. So I'm going to throw you a softball here. What about sacrificing takes personal? You have to get rid of your personal comfort. In other words, you can't be, you want everything to be a bed of roses. And if it's not a bed of roses, you're not going to want to sacrifice. Talk about that for me.
And that, I think that's something, like I said, people got to look in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
What role do you want to play in the team effort that we're putting forth?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's some people you're going to be more comfortable.
Mm.
You know, some people that's going to be struggling, that they're not going to be able to afford,
mm-hmm.
you know, that piece at that price. And I understand it. I'm not going to put them down, but if you can do it,
mm-hmm.
go do it.
Yeah.
If you can do something, go do it. If you're more financially fit than others.
Right.
Some people, I remember Joe Webb had a supermarket over there off of New Braunfels.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone used to complain, man, his prices is high. And you know, you had the major chains right down, like a couple of blocks down the avenue, and it's like we're HEB, and they had Kroger's. They said, well, a can of beans only costs 35 cents. Yours costs 42 cents. And they don't understand.
Wow.
Some people, they can't afford it. I understand that.
Right.
But some people, if you can,
mm-hmm.
then instead of buying cigarettes or that, you know, that extra pack or that, you know, or going that sacrifice some of the things that you want to do and help empower ourselves. That's what the sacrifice comes from. You have to do that, because you may not see anything from it now.
Right.
And what ended up happening was the store, that whole thing, it closed up, and now we have no black supermarkets.
Right.
We were on the fringe of doing something, and we could have even had more or a better chain in our community, and drove the other people out, or made them compete or treat us better. See, when it's competition, like if you got something and they're selling whatever TV service, cable company, let's say cable company, if it's only one in the area, their prices is going to be whatever the hell they want to make them. When the competition comes in, then they're competing, and they're going to say, well, I'm going to give it to you lower. I'm going to give you more benefits, so I'm going to treat you nicer. When the Asians in our neighborhood, they treat us like, many of them treat us like crap. You know, they want to drag you on the floor over some eyelashes that they think you stole. And we don't have anybody that competes with them. That's not even ourselves. That's going to help us and say, you know what, the hell with you. I'm going to go over here and spend a little bit more for us, but we don't have us doing it.
Right. That's so true, because when you look at personal comfort, we're so used to having things our way. It's that Burger King or somebody have it your way. We're so used to that. And so sacrifice says it's not about you. Sacrifice says it's not about me. Sacrificing says it's about the people. It's about the family. It's about the community. It's about the significant other. It's about the children. It's about thing that's going to help us become a better people in progress. But we haven't seemed to catch on that if we're going to make any kind of positive strides, we're going to have to realize that sacrificing is not about me having my way all the time, and to the detriment of you being my servant or something. Sacrifice is about saying, hey, what decision, like on our broadcast, some of the topics that we talk about, those topics are really not, as we quote unquote say, dear to our hearts all the time. Something that's necessary so that our people can hear, because it's not about what you want to talk about or I want to talk about. It's what do our people need?
What's needed.
And that's really important, man. It really is.
And like you said about our ancestors, a lot of them sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice was their lives. Some of them laid their lives on the line. If you think about Martin Luther King, he said he knew he was gonna die. You know, when he saw Malcolm X, and he said like he knew that he was gonna die. And one of his last speeches was talking about, he's like, you know, he know the end is near. Medgar Evers, he sacrificed his life. You know, he faced that lion, he faced the beast out there, and he didn't cower down. When people was like, boy, we'll string you up, and they did what they needed to do, and it wasn't for them. they had a nice little house. He had a wife, and he could have just, his wives. I understand many of them was like, why you putting yourself in peril? But he was doing it for us.
Right.
That's the ultimate sacrifice. And many of us don't want to make the small sacrifices for those that Tommy Smith, John Carlos. When them brothers did the fist thing in the air, that's why that's on the wall. That's a sacrifice. They made a gesture. They didn't. It cost them their livelihood. Back to America. This was in 1968 Mexico games. Them brothers got together and they said, we need to let the world know what's happening back home with us. You see black faces running for this flag that's treating us like trash, and y'all thinking everything's is roses, but when back home, we're having problems, and we're going to protest. But now, before they did this, they got together with the other black athletes in the village, in the Olympic Village. They said, we need to do something.
Right.
And then some people were saying no or yes, and I'm gonna tell y'all one person.
Okay.
Well, the person that was in the 68 Olympics was a boxer, heavyweight, gold medalist named George Foreman. After those brothers did this, and the president was outraged. How dare you do this? Right. How dare you put up a black power fist in this, that, and the other? Get them back on the plane, back to America. Those brothers lost their livelihood.
Yeah.
George won the heavyweight gold medal, and he got the American flags and he danced around. I don't know if y'all remember, you could YouTube, he danced, but he was making a statement saying that I love America. I'm happy where I'm at. America is everything to me.
Okay.
So this is what was happening in the conflict. Some was willing to sacrifice, others was embracing it like, I'm not going that far. Now, if you're just gonna say, well, I'm not gonna say anything, Jah, you wanna protest like that? You know what, Jah, you don't want to stand up for the national anthem? I'm not going to make a spectacle out of you doing it by me trying to show you up by holding up the flag, and I'm just going to say, okay, he's not doing it. I'm just going to sit back and I'm just going to do what I do. But dancing around with the flag is somebody going against what you're doing.
Right. Okay, that's good. That's good talk. And I think about our children. When I look at our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and I think about how sacrificing right now is important. It's crucial. We have to, because if we look at the condition that our children are in, what they have to go through, you and I didn't have to go through what these children are going through today. The times were different. Everything was a lot less, what have you. But now it's like everything is out there. Everything that you could imagine is out there. And so we have to sacrifice for our children's well-being. And we say we love our children, and I would never sit on a broadcast or a podcast and say that a parent does not love their children. But what I will say is love should be translated into some kind of action. And that action should be action whereby you're making sure that your children have the best of everything that you could provide for them, the best education, the best medical people that's going to help them, whatever it is for your child, the best emotional aspect, the best psychological aspect, which means you're going to sacrifice cursing them out sometimes instead of just telling them certain things. You're going to sacrifice, quit lying to them, saying you're going to do things with them when you're not going to do things with them. You're going to stop lying to them, saying that you care for their education when you've given them over to a system that is brainwashing them. So sacrificing is so heavy, and it's coming from all different parameters. And so I'm saying that we have to look at our children, even if it's nothing else that we should be sacrificing for, we should at least be sacrificing for these kids, because these kids today, man, they have so much stuff that's going on now that you and I couldn't imagine when we were growing up.
Right. And I think the other end of that, I'm going to flip that over. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to make your kids uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to say, you know what? We're not doing this for Christmas, because a lot of times this is what we do. And this is, sometimes we go out on a limb trying to make our children happy for Christmas. And then, we about to get the lights cut off, because you're so worried about them. And this is something, so you have to look at what you're doing, and you have to teach them. This is a fabricated day. This is a commercial day. We can have Christmas every day if you want. We can have Christmas once a month, a small Christmas, as opposed to this commercialized thing that's putting our people in debt.
There you
Many
go.
of us gonna go into debt. I had people ask to borrow money You know, January, because they didn't went all out for Christmas for these kids. And I'm like, see, but I'm thinking you have to be disciplined. You have to sacrifice trying to make them happy, spoiling them. And instead of doing what is right and teaching them. That's a lesson.
Right. And we have to be willing to invest financially into our community. See, it's going to take, everything is not about money, but a lot of things are about money. And those things that are about money, like you mentioned earlier, spending money at a Black business that you know you're going to pay a little bit more because you want to make sure that that business stays around. Once they get off their feet, then they can go into the community and help out and do different things that we need. But you have to be able to invest in the community, not just money. You got to be able to invest time. You got to be able to invest your talents. You got to be able to invest your mental capacity for thought. See, these are the things that we don't like to talk about when we talk about sacrificing, because once again, we see these people on television that are entertainers, that are sports athletes, and et cetera, and we think that we've arrived, we've made it. And what we don't realize is that that's not even a drop in the bucket to how many of us who are poor, miseducated, struggling. And so we have to be able to sacrifice so that we can be in a better position, because our ancestors did it for us. We should do it for those who are coming behind us so that they can do it for those who come behind them. And that's how the game goes.
And what we have to do, we have to understand, we have to get out of the bickering about sacrifices. Like all our people should be doing this. Some people are going to do the things that some of us are not going to do. Some of us don't believe in the Christmas. Let's do, but all we could do is beckon you to whatever you believe in.
Right.
Empower us. If you're gonna do, like, everybody's pissed off, and a lot of people's pissed off in the Black community about the election, right? But it's like, okay, you America let you know who America is. So what are you gonna do about it? And if you're gonna continue to go into Black Friday and spend all your money on color TVs and all these things like this that does nothing for our people, then all you're doing is placating to the system that just poo-pooed in your face.
Exactly.
And so my thing is, okay, show them. If you're still going to do it, some of us are going to say, to hell with that. I'm not spending my money. I'm not going to do this. Some of y'all are not going to do that. But if you're not going to do it, at least say, well, you know what? I'm not going to spend money with you and help your economy, because what you're going to do is make it as if this person that y'all think is the boogeyman, like he's helping the economy, because you're continuing to do the same thing and not making a sacrifice and saying, you know what, I'm going to eat, at least I'm going to show you that I'm pissed off. I'm not going to spend, I'm going to get more frugal with my dollars. And if you're going to do that, or if you're going to go out, then just go look for us to spend your money with. Then you're helping that Black business. And you're showing the system, you're hurting them, because they're about capitalism, which is about money.
And what happens to the adults, the senior citizens, who, if they do cut Medicare, if they cut Medicaid, our uncles, our aunts, some of us, what happens to them when their checks are cut and they can't afford what they normally get? We should have some kind of safety net so that they can get from us as far as the finances, but we're going to have to be able to invest in them. See, we complain, and I want to use the B word, but I'm not going to get us off the FCC, but we be about all these things, when it comes to politics and all religion and all that, what we can't do, but we can do more than we are doing now. But it's going to take sacrificing. See, it's not going to take us running to buildings and singing and having fun. It's going to take us to put our money where our mouth is and make sure that when my grandmother or your grandfather, when they say, hey, these people done cut my check, what do I do? Where do they go? So we complained about it, but we didn't have anything for them. So that this is terrible.
Yeah, and that's the same ones that's cutting our checks and cutting their checks and doing these, taking away their these people rights. We have to be able to punish them and let them know that we're not content with what they're doing. We're not happy with it. And they know we're not happy when they're losing money. They're going to say, okay, what's going on in the Black community? Why do we not have what's happening? Black Friday, this is down. They banking on that. This is their time of year where they sitting back. This is their Thanksgiving. They sitting back saying, "Oh yeah, the money gonna roll in." And if it don't roll in like they want, because we sacrifice, let them know that we're not happy, and then taking that money. And see, the thing is, the discussions is where it comes from. You have to have these type of discussions amongst us to get things started. Everything we're talking about is not just going to happen, because we have different mindsets, but we have to huddle up and start discussing things and discuss how we're going to do things. And this is what we're talking about. We're trying to light that match to discuss how can we get things done, not just what needs to be done, but talk about how can we do things.
And this is why we're asking. We're not begging, but we have a broadcast, and when we have a broadcast, we have a live phone that you can call us at 361-405-6111. Someone should have something to say about sacrificing, or what we should do or what we should not be doing more of, and get the discussion started as far as personally, what can we do? What can you do? What can I do to help out in this area of sacrificing? Because I don't hear too many sermons. I don't hear too many messages. I don't hear too many educational gurus talking about. I don't hear any spiritual gurus talking about the importance of sacrificing today. I hear us talking about sacrificing that happened in the past, and we always point to those, and that's fine. But what about today? Why are we not talking about
sacrifice? My job is done. I'm here. I'm happy. You know, I get to watch the ball game. I'm doing everything. My belly is full on Thanksgiving. Okay. So I'm here and done. We thank y'all for doing what y'all doing, and then we just content and we're happy and we're comfortable.
And here's another thing I want to say about what sacrifice requires. It's going to require that we put on our big boy pants and our big girl pants, because you're going to be scrutinized. They're going to look for everything, even in this broadcast. People look for the slightest things to talk about to try to denigrate you and I. And so we have to be willing to say that, okay, I'm going to accept that. So that comes with a part of the sacrificing process, as well as being resilient. Because if someone calls right now and say, you guys are trash, we don't ever want to hear you again, they should never let you come on the broadcast, blah, blah, blah. Do you think we're going to put our tails between our legs and say, we're never going to do it again? No, we're going to say, that's your opinion. You can say what you want to say, feel how you want to feel. We're going to be next time we come on, because resilience is a lot of us don't like to talk about. You can come back. When you sacrifice, you can just lay down and die. I mean, our ancestors did it all the time.
Knock down a lot.
Of course.
When you're trying to fight the system is going to lie. And our own people, when we get knocked down by our own people, that's the system at work.
Yeah,
because system got their mind. I always say a suds coming out their ear. You're brainwashed by the system, and you fighting me, and that's that cognitive dissonance.
Right.
I always say, man, the reason that you're attacking what I'm doing, when I'm doing something that's trying to work for the betterment of our people, is because you're not doing it, and you know you should be doing it. And now, so you're going to attack everyone that's doing something that you should have been doing. That's that cognitive dissonance. You have no reason to. I'm not pointing my finger at you because you're doing this, and I'm saying I'm boycotting this store, I'm boycotting this thing. If you're not going to do it, then just do your thing.
Yeah,
don't turn to George Foreman. Don't sit up there and dance and shuck and jive and then try to point the finger at me and say, look at him, they stupid, they doing this, this is not going to work. I know it's not going to work. Doing nothing is not going to work.
And then the other side of that cognitive dissonance is that Stockholm syndrome mentality, where we have fallen in love with our oppressors to the degree that we are on the side of our oppressors, as opposed to trying to get them to get their foot off of our neck and to also liberate our people. We have fallen in love with those who have taken us and done us so wrong. That's why a lot of times people tell me, with the things that I do, I've been kicked in the teeth. I've been drugged in the mud. I've been talked about like a dog. My name has been scandalized, but I'm not going to stop when I hear those kinds of things, because to me, that's a part of the journey. I can't, if everybody likes me and everybody says great things about me, then apparently there's something wrong with me, because people should be angry with you, because when you go against the system, it's going to make a lot of Negroes mad, because these people are so involved in loving these oppressors that they'll fight, they'll die, they'll kill for their oppressor, as opposed to saying, hey, I need to stop this and start sacrificing.
If you came into a room and the light was off and everybody in that room was asleep, and you came in there and you woke everybody, you turn the light on, you start making noise, y'all need to get up, wake up. They're going to be pissed off at you because they're comfortable. The system got a lot of people sleep and a lot of people comfortable. Good. And that's what you do when you try to wake people up. You try to show them that this is not the way to go. You try to get them back on the path of being righteous with your people.
Right. You said something so important. I want to talk about it a little bit, but you mentioned the word discipline, because I don't think we realize, in other words, sacrificing requires discipline. In other words, the things that we like to do sometimes, we've got to put those things to the side, man. We can't, a lot of us are overgrown babies. When we can't get our ways, we cry, we throw temper tantrums, and we just act silly. But sacrificing says you may have wanted to do something for a long time, but now you see a greater need for a cause, our people. So what that means is you can't act like, I don't want to do this anymore, because you're angry, because you don't want to put aside what you've often done personally, as opposed to saying this is better for our people. So therefore, we have to realize that discipline, man, discipline should be talked about a lot more as well, because a lot of us don't know what that is. You know, it's not about me. And and that sounds hard, but it's not really hard. It's the reality. I'm sure with your children, I'm sure that there was many times in your life, financially and every other kind of way, you had to say, hold on for a second. If I do this, I'm going to benefit. But if I do that, my kid's going to benefit. And I know 99.9% of the time you chose the other route, because that's what a real man does. That's what a real woman does, see? And we got to talk about that discipline aspect.
The discipline is self-discipline. You have imposed discipline, and the self-discipline is doing it even, you know, when no one's looking.
Right.
You know, it's easy to have discipline when everybody's looking at you. But the self-discipline is like the thing, like I used to tell my kids getting up for school, I know you don't want to do it. And I'm gonna make you do it right now. But the reason that I'm so hard on you doing it, I didn't get on them on the top end of going to sleep early. Right. You know, I didn't discipline them like that. My discipline was creating self-discipline. Go to sleep whenever you want to. But you're gonna get up.
You
and the first time, you go, and they'll tell you the stories. I'm coming the first time and telling y'all get up. You know, your alarm went off and you didn't get up. I'm still here, and I'm gonna turn the light on, and I'm gonna say get up. Next time I come, I'm coming with some discipline on my shoulder. So, but what it was is on the back end when they go to college, the teacher's not gonna tell you nobody's gonna be there to do that. So you are the one that's going to have that discipline in yourself. When you go to your job, your boss not going to call you and say, hey, John, you're not here, man. Get up. You know, that's going to be you. That's all on you. So we have to teach our kids to have discipline and to make sacrifices, because every discipline, in another word of discipline, scientist, a doctor, a dentist, that's a discipline. They practice something. They sacrifice to get to where they at. So you're going to have to sacrifice to get any kind of discipline that you want, any title that you want, that's worth having. Right.
And you also have to throw this in the mix too, which is a lot of us are still struggling with this non-conformity. We want to conform to, we had talked about this before we came on the broadcast, how some of us, we want to be a part of the system. We want to be a part of the oppressive, the racist, the mental, the emotional, all of the abuse that we go through. We want to be a part of it, but we don't want to say it. But so we want to conform, see? But when you sacrifice, I'm going to tell you now, you're going to come to blows or at odds, not literal, and sometimes literal. It's going to put you at odds with powerful entities, you see? And you have to be willing to stand up against powerful entities, I should say. Even during the bus boycott, you know, that was a huge entity that they took down to its knees. But you see, they stuck together. They pulled their resources together. They said, I'm not going to ride on that bus, blah, blah, blah. But the bottom line was they had to stand up to a powerful entity. They didn't conform because, and I'm sure there were a lot of black people saying, I'm still going to ride the bus. I'm still going to do this. But the majority of them had that mindset of sacrificing.
And I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to bring it up a little earlier.
Okay.
The Montgomery boys bus boycott. And the thing is, they waited those people out. The system was trying to see if they had discipline. They was making a sacrifice, but see, you could say you're making a sacrifice and then fold under pressure. and it was probably some black people. I'm quite sure that was like, look at them. I'm riding the bus. I don't care about them. And what they did, they changed America. That went all the way to the Supreme Court because it was hurting the bus system. That fare, they was paying their fare just like a white person was, but they wasn't being treated fairly. They were treated like third-class citizens on that bus. Get up, get them your seat. I don't care if you're a woman, get up and get this white man your seat. It was all that chivalry stuff was out the window. You paid your fare to get your bus ride just like they did. And they made you sit in the back. And then even when the line of the color, and then if the white section got full, they moved the line back and said, get up. And we had to get up. And Claudette Culver made a sacrifice.
Yes, she did.
15-year-old girl.
Yes, she did.
And we threw her name away as if she didn't do anything.
Wow.
And she was the one that started that boycott, not Rosa Parks. You know, but I'm saying we have to learn that. But what I'm saying is that lasted a year. That was 300 something days. And they waited them people out to say, well, you know what, it's not gonna last. They're gonna fold. They're gonna fold, and they showed some discipline. They sacrificed and they changed the system.
Wow. And it also took something that goes hand in hand with discipline. It took patience. See, patience is this thing where community advance, it takes time sometimes. It doesn't happen overnight. And like you said, we want this quick fix now. If it doesn't happen in a week or two or a month, then I'm gonna go back to doing what I've been doing. So sacrificing takes patience, and you have to wait it out, and it's going to be hard too. It's going to almost break you. But this is when your emotional status comes into play, your mental, your mindset, your fortitude, all that says, you know what? Even though it's tough right now, I didn't think it was going to be this long. I didn't think it was going to hurt this much, but I'm going to continue to go forward because I know that in the end, this is going to be a better situation for me and my people, as opposed to just doing something because I'm sick and tired of just doing it and I want to give in to the very thing that I started off doing. Patience.
And something that we alluded to earlier, you want your kids to be in comfort. And sometimes you have to make them uncomfortable, because the world is going to be uncomfortable many times for them. It's been uncomfortable for me and you many times. The communities we grew up in different ways, the world has been uncomfortable. In the workplace, it's been uncomfortable. And more of a burden is on us. You know, they make it more of a strain on us. We got more single parent mother household. That's the burden is on them. The mother's got to figure out, what am I going to do next? How am I going to shuffle this stuff around? How am I going to shuffle this bill with that? How am I going to do all of this that other people don't have to go through? And that's a burden. So you have to prepare your kids for what they are going to face. And you must also prepare them to change the system, to change that. Let them see the reality of what's happening. I remember our parents sat us down. We was big on Christmas. They sat me and my sister down. They said, you got to make a choice. and really, it wasn't a choice. When I think they say, you want lights or you want Christmas gifts? And of course, I'm like, I want gifts. Right. We got candles, right? But no, it was like, no, you know, really, you got to think, you know, this is the predicament that we're in. And some people will break their back just to make them kids happy with these toys and things like that, this phone and all these things like that. But you got to teach them and prepare them. And not just prepare them for the hardships, but prepare them to make things better.
Sacrifice, it takes dedication. And again, dedication, commitment, loyalty, you know, all of that is all wrapped up into what makes a good sacrifice, because you got to have it. You have to be dedicated to something. You can't start off, I'm going to change this, and then next week, I want to change that. And then the month after that, I want to change something else. And so you're all over the place. You have to be dedicated to that cause. Like our ancestors were dedicated to slavery being over. Some of them never saw it, but yet it happened. And regardless of how we want to pick it apart, we're not chained anymore, man. Now, the chains are on our minds in many instances and all of that. But the bottom line is, you have to be dedicated, man. And a lot of our ancestors were dedicated. I mean, you have to look at what they had to go through, but they still were dedicated to be raped, to be robbed, to be pillaged, to be plundered, to have your person, a relative soul in front of your face, to see your daddy whipped, you know, to see your mama raped, to hear your uncle sodomized in front of a whole group of people, to see somebody hanging from a tree. Damn it, that took sacrifice, and I was need to settle down because I didn't got worked up. I got to get back to where I came from. But it took sacrifice, Kevin. I think sometimes we think that's just in the movies.
Right.
We don't see that's in our DNA, man.
And the thing I want to say, like, this is part of the Underground Railroad now. Shows like this, or anybody that's trying to talk to y'all about freeing your mind, this is the new Underground Railroad. This is the you know, a lot of those slaves that was on them plantations, they were comfortable where they were at. This is just life as I know it. This is how it is. They are in charge. We all of this, and we hear some of us talk like that, man. You know, niggas gonna always be, you know, and we put ourselves down because we belittle ourselves. And the system is teaching us to be little, and then we belittle each other. We belittle ourselves in the process. We look at other people and think other people are better than us. They in a better predicament, but they're not better than us. The system has created that, and so our minds are in chains. We don't want to break loose from the system. Slavery was a system. Chattel slavery was a system. Some of them people were scared to break free. They fought with Harriet, you know, but Harriet broke loose and came back. And part of it wasn't just her. She was part of a railroad system, underground railroad system, where she was getting help. She was getting food. She was getting shelter, a place to stay, a place to hide. You know, shows like this, and there's many of them out there. This is the Underground Railroad system, because we're trying to free our minds.
Right. And this is why we keep harping. You say, well, Jahi, you're beating a dead horse. Well, I'm going to keep beating it, because I'm saying that we want you to tell people about the Jah and Kev show. We want you to subscribe to our channels. our channel, rather, we want people from all over to watch this, whether we get a call or not. We want your ears listening so that can translate into you doing something about our situation, because we had to learn. And that's one thing about history when it comes to sacrificing, Kev, I want to say here real quick. When it comes to history, I know that dates and names are important. I know that inventions are great during the oppression we were under. I get all of that. But I think one of the things that we forget to learn is the sacrifice. See, that's something we have to learn. When I look at all these people that came before me, I don't just look at what they did. I look at what did they have to do to get to where they were. See, that's the deeper question. And a lot of times during Black History Month or whenever we call ourselves studying history, we want to tell you about a name or something that nobody else has said to make you think that they're more intelligent, as opposed to saying, okay, well, what did this person have to go through to do that? What did they sacrifice for their family, for us? How do we benefit from that? And if we look closely and if we look deeply, we'll find out that we're all benefiting. But a lot of times when we don't see the sacrifice, we take it as if, like I said earlier, we've arrived now because of what they did. But that doesn't take away from the fact what they sacrificed to get us there. That is so being ungrateful when we have that kind of mindset.
Right. And it's not just an image or you say, I know a name, because if I brought up Claudette Cove, I'm bringing up her for a reason. I want you to know the name, but if you look up the background, a young girl that was in class reading about the Constitution and looking around with all these other adults going along with the system. And she was like, something is not right with this whole bus system. I'm not going to do it. And the bus driver like, get your butt up and do what I told you to do. Other people got up, adults older than her. She was like, no, because this is not right. Wow. Even her own people wasn't standing with her. She was the only one that got drug off that bus by her feet. By the police. He pulled over, called the police. We got a little girl here that's tripping. That's not going. Wow. They told her to do it, and she said no, facing the police. But our people, none of the men on that bus said no. You know what? We all in this together. Right. It was her by herself, a teenager, being drugged off her feet. So when I bring up those names, I want you to learn, because this is something that we can learn. If everybody around you is not doing it, and I don't care how old they are. I don't care what title, this pastor, this imam, whatever they are. I don't care. And if you know something is not right, then make that sacrifice. And you may create a movement. That was the creation of the civil rights movement right there. Yes, sir. Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, all of them said, wait a minute, this is, she made some noise. This is where the smoke is at. Let's go over there and see what's happening. Then they got the Rosa Parks do the same thing. We could get behind her because she's a little more mature. She's a little more fair, and all the whole history with that. But I'm saying what, and see, you bring up, if you bring up a name, I'm talking about not you, and I'm gonna say, okay, so you know this person, what is, so tell me about it. So how does that translate? Right. And then it's just, well, I just know the name. Then you just know trivia. This ain't Jeopardy. I don't care about, I don't care about you just knowing the name. Tell me something. Right. How does that translate? And all these wannabe think you know it all. You critique the civil rights movement. You critique the Nation of Islam during the time of Elijah Muhammad. You critique all these SNCC core. You critique all of these organizations and institutions. You critique the Church of Old, which I still believe to this day, the Church of Old is nothing like the Church of today. But anyway, that's another topic. But you critique all these different organizations. They should have done that. They shouldn't have done this. I wouldn't do this. Well, what in the hell are you doing now? And what have you learned from their sacrifice as to where we are today? So don't come here critiquing and talking about Martin King like he did something wrong, talking about Rosa Parks or Claudette Colvin, what I would have done, because you're not doing a damn thing but talking. When are we going to start sacrificing? It's happening right now in your stage. So what are you doing? Just sitting around talking, man. We're just talking, having these mental gymnastics. You saying something big and everybody's listening, and Kevin's deep. Then I say something deep. John's deep. So everybody leaves saying it was deep. But what do we do? And it's not about self-grandizement. That's what it's about. That's what I'm saying. We are not doing this just to be heard or saw. We're doing this because we're doing things behind this. This is a need to, Kev. This is the last thing. We were doing things way before this show. Right. It was like, you know what? We need to let people hear or try to get people together and discuss some of these things. But you're getting your hands dirty constantly. You get your hands dirty every day. Well, a lot of people don't want to work together. See, sacrifice takes working together. See, because I have to work with you. You have to work with me. You don't agree with everything I say. I don't agree with everything you say. But we know for the greater good that your knowledge and my knowledge, your insight, my insight,
everything that you have learned in life, and same with me. When we put this together, we have a powerful show, and that's how brothers and sisters should be. But a lot of us, I ain't working with Kev. Oh, that ended. See, this is dumb, man. But this is where we are because we don't want to sacrifice. I don't care what you believe. We don't care what I believe. If when we get through with it, we're talking about helping our people and helping our communities, helping our children, helping our elders, helping our senior citizens, helping ourselves, then we should be able to work together. Yeah,
that's and I'm putting this on the men in our community.
Uh-oh.
We're supposed to be the protectors and the providers. Let's get together. If you're a woman out there, you got a man, hey, you know, you need to get with some brothers that's trying to, what are y'all trying to do? Put pressure on them.
Yeah.
I see all these women talking about, I'm pressure. They got a little, you know, they all made up. They got a dress on. This is pressure. I'm pressure.
Right.
Put pressure on your man to do something. Put pressure on the men in your family to get something done. Okay, the easiest thing, like I brought up the voting, the easiest thing is tell people to go vote. Go vote. That's easy. That's not even, you're not sacrificing nothing. All you're doing is saying go vote. And then you're telling people to do something that's not a sacrifice. But okay, now, even if the person you wanted to win won, now what?
Now what?
Put pressure on them to do, hey, we got you here, do something. Do what you said, or we going or else. Give them a or else. And if the people win that you didn't want to win, then you got to show them you're not happy. Then have something instead of just telling me, are you registered to vote? Or you who didn't, you know, it's like you're not sacrificing anything.
You know, and I think about, I've been studying the raid at Harper's Ferry. I talked about it the last broadcast. I promise you I won't be long-winded, but there were some 5 African Americans who joined John Brown in the Harper's Ferry raid in 1859. But what struck me about the 2 of the guys were they were free. They were free, you see, and they had a lot to lose. But when they asked, one of the uncles asked the guy, why are you going to join this madman, this lunatic? He said, because my people are still enslaved.
Run it down, man. Tell them what you're talking about.
Okay.
What makes them about free people is important, and if you know the story.
Yeah, the free people during that time, they didn't have to sacrifice because they were already free. All they had to do was live in luxury like most of us do now, that have homes and cars and all of that we don't want to lose. But here were 2 free men who said, I'm going to join a band of men to try to overthrow slavery, even if it costs me my life. And it cost them their lives. And I found that fascinating because as a free person, they didn't have to do it.
But tell them about the ferry. What was it about?
It was about a white man named John Brown who said he felt that God had given him the ability to purge slavery in 1859. And he went to a place in Virginia. He wanted to get the armory. And so when he got the armory, he thought that blacks would come and he would give them weapons and they would go ahead and fight the white man and overthrow slavery. It didn't happen that way. So, but the bottom line was those who were with him, most of them, other than 2, they all lost their lives for that cause. They were outnumbered. The whole military at that time came to Virginia and basically decimated them. They hung those who got captured and all that. But the point I'm trying to make is those 2 free guys that were free, they could have said, I'm not into that. I don't have anything to do with that.
I'm already free.
Yeah, but they said, I'm going to help because my people are still free.
And even some of those that was in slavery, they was fighting for, didn't even show up for the fight.
Didn't even show up.
Left them out to dry, and they got.
You know, Kev, sacrificing is one word when you really think about it. It's love. Because it shows concern, it shows compassion, it shows that you're about helping people that look like you to become or putting them in a better position than they were before you met them. And I think a lot of times love is not translated because we tell each other every day, I love you, I love you, I love you, but we never do anything to express or to demonstrate that love.
What's love without loyalty?
Tell me about it.
You brought up loyalty as one of the things that you're talking about, discipline and all this stuff. We happen to be loyal to a people that's not showing any loyalty to the group or the multitude. And it's okay. I mean, all of the leaders down our line, our historic line, showed loyalty to our people, even those that was calling them coons and Uncle Toms or whatever, or stirring up trouble, and the simple-minded people that some of us was. I don't want to hear all that black Muslim stuff Malcolm X was talking about. I don't want to. Don't come over here with all that kind of stuff like this. We live in peaceful here in Alabama. You coming out here, we don't want to vote. And things like this. So and then like the cognitive dissonance. I'm saying I'm doing this. I'm giving up something that I love. To make a statement, And then somebody that look like me is trashing me and attacking me like y'all ain't doing that's dumb for all y'all trying to do this and do that. Man, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Yeah.
But why are you fighting with me for something I'm trying to do for you and for the rest of us? So when your kid get pulled over by the cops and beat down, this is why I'm doing it.
Right.
Then you want to be called singing alarm. Everybody needs to do something about my kid. What about everybody else's kid that's getting beat down in the process?
And that's why you have to make sure that the system has taught us well. And I'm going to say this again at a conference that's coming up shortly, but we're going to be talking about education. I'm going to really drive this home because I remember back in the day when I went to school, there was this little yellow bus. And some of my friends would get on this little bus and we would tease them because we called them SE, special education. Okay. And that's what they were. They were specially educated. But I'm going to take that concept and throw it on all of us because every one of us in America have been specially educated.
You took my fire, bro. I was just about to say that.
We're on the same wavelength now. See, we on the same vibration. We on the same everything. We on the same spiritual vibe. But that's what it's about because we all been specially educated so that we can serve somebody to kick us in the teeth and take our money and take our minds. And instead of us trying to free our minds to say, hey, I got to get my mind free, then I'm going to be able to sacrifice. Because as long as your mind is still enslaved, as long as my mind is still enslaved, we can talk about it till the cows come home, but we'll never use the concept of sacrifice to demonstrate it because we're still enslaved mentally. And that's where it starts.
Teaching, bro. Now, you brought up something earlier. You brought up something called Stockholm Syndrome. Explain what Stockholm Syndrome is for those that may not know.
Those who don't know, in 1973, in a place called Stockholm, there was some men that robbed a bank. And these men that robbed the bank, they held the people in the bank up for at least 2 days. Well, by the time that the people came to free the ones that were being held hostage, the people that were being held hostage, they had fallen in love with the bank robbers. And so when it was time to arrest the bank robbers and get the bank robbers out, the people inside the bank that were held captive, they were angry because they didn't want them to arrest the bank robbers because the bank robbers were bad people. And so what I'm saying is the Stockholm Syndrome is where people that fall in love with an oppressor to the degree that you would rather see your oppressor do you any kind of way and not have any qualms about it, as opposed to punishing a person and getting that person's foot off your neck that's doing that. Yeah. So that's what the Stockholm Syndrome was about.
It's something that people got together and these doctors, psychologists, like, what is this? Why would this happen? And what it is, sometimes people that kidnap you and they torture you, whatever. And after a while, you start having an affinity towards them. and this is how people talk about many of us. Yeah. The house Negro. Yeah. You know, it's like, hey, I want to be on your side. You know, you know what? They running. They plan on running tomorrow, master. You know, and a famous case with that was the Patty Hearst thing. Yeah. Which they kidnapped her. She's the young white darling of America. Right. And before, you know, they're like, and they kidnapped her from this bank robbery. And then after a while, she was helping show up. They had her on the security camera. She holding the gun with the kidnappers, the people that kidnapped her. And she was helping them rob other banks. And this was the Stockholm Syndrome. And this is what many of us, this is what we have to fight against. Many of us sit up there and wave that, either that Confederate flag, right. Charleston White, Kanye, all y'all, right. And then we sit up there and talk about how the system is right and how a lot of us militant guys is doing nothing and just doing nothing but talk. But you in love with your oppressor.
Yeah, and it works because the place that it took place in was in Stockholm, Sweden. But it transfers wherever you want it to go.
It's a psychological thing. It's not just that's what they studied it, but it transferred. And this is what happened to us. This was what was happening to us before that happened in Stockholm because we was doing that here in America.
Exactly.
Falling in love with the system, the same system of oppression, wanting to be like, oh, you don't speak proper English. You don't do this, or you know, you got your nose turned down on us.
You know, Kev, this has been a great broadcast, but I'm going to keep saying the same thing I've said earlier. We need you to tell someone about the Jah and Kev show and we need more people to subscribe to our channel, because our information, as you mentioned earlier, our information is needed. It's necessary for people who are oppressed. Quit talking about being pro-black and being a nationalist, but yet you won't even listen to the words that's going to help you light the fire so that we can do some positive
or
things.
Do something. You're not doing anything but just putting other people down that don't believe the same. Oh, you religious. Oh, you this and you pro-black, and all you looking for is attacking people that look like us.
Right.
Do something to fight the system. Read some comments, man. We had some people show up, and I'm gonna thank some of y'all that showed up. Maria, I appreciate you showing up. Hotep sister Barbara, I appreciate you showing up. She said Hotep Kings. Ladae Bishop, she said good morning, gentlemen. I appreciate you showing up. Coretta, I appreciate you showing up. She said hello to both of us. Gwendolyn, I appreciate you showing up. She had a comment. She said reminds me of some of my friends of black, white, and other races that proudly represent love and voted for Trump, not because they voted for him as a man, but because they voted for a man who has no morals. He has shown his true colors to all of America. So to most of those that put him in office based on possible monetary gain, they have no morals either. When a person show you their true colors, don't decide to go colorblind. Either with me or against me. I'm just saying. I appreciate those comments. That's the sentiments for a lot of us. And I see a lot of these people, they talking about the money. The money is for the individual. You taking 30 pieces of silver and you're condemning our people because you only worried about your. And you think about the long run for our people, for our women, our rights. It may be something about abortion now, but what they're doing, they're stripping away rights from a person's body. And I'm not saying that I'm for abortion or against it. I'm just saying the whole thing is you're stripping people of their rights. And then that's not where the end is it's not just going to stop there.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I appreciate that comment, Gwen. That's the first time you showed up. Our Jah and Kev show is on YouTube. So if y'all go to YouTube, look up Jah and Kev show, just subscribe. Even though you're looking at us on Facebook, subscribe to our channel to give us more power. Barbara, she said, great teaching, Kings. And she said, selfishness has to be surrendered in order to activate sacrifice for the better outcome. I appreciate that. Andrea Wilson, I appreciate you showing up. She said, great show.
Okay. See, and I know people are benefiting from it because I'm benefiting from it. And I like to think of myself as just, a straight shooter, down to earth type of guy. And it's so practical that I can learn and I can listen and I can also apply, because these things we're talking about are applicable. It's not something that you can't do. These are basic truths. And most of these truths that we're talking about, let's be honest, the people that's watching this, they already know these truths. So all we're saying is we want to shine a light on it and then make us do something about our situation instead of just talking about it or complaining about it or carrying a picket sign only. Let's begin to pool our minds, our resources, and all that together. And that's what Sacrafice, that's where it all begins.
Yeah, let this go somewhere other than just in your ears and just out your mouth saying great show. Do something. Just in the back of your mind, think about somewhere. Get with somebody. I'm not saying I'm this great economist or whatever, or agricultural person that's going to get, but I'm just saying we got to begin. We got to begin. Get people together to start thinking about things to do. Gwendolyn, you gave a great scenario and how you feel about this, but this is how we feel. So now what are we going to do? How are we going to hurt the system that keeps hurting us? How are you going to turn your back? Even you might think, well, me doing this is not going to hurt, but if everybody thought like that, it's never going to hurt. But change something within yourself, change something with those that think like you around you and say, hey, let's do something. Somebody else may have the idea, but if y'all get together and discuss it, that's how you'll hear about the ideas of what we could do.
And here's something that's very practical. Those who are watching this broadcast, word of mouth is great. All you have to do is when you call your friends and they're talking about whatever, you can say, oh, by the way, do you know I watch a couple of brothers that come on YouTube, Facebook, called the Jah and Kev Show? You don't have to tout Jah and Kev. You could say them guys ain't about anything. But what they talk about, I'm sure you're going to like it. You're going to be able to enjoy it. You'll also be able to learn from it. It's also something that our people need. So start telling people about us, just like we talk about the Mike Tyson fight and all of that, and that has its time and place. But the bottom line is a lot of people talked about it. But yet this is way more important than a fight. This is way more important than anything, but yet a lot of our viewers, we don't talk to others. So we're encouraging you to just, when you call people, send friend requests. When you get a friend, let them know, hey, there's some brothers that you need to hear. The men, that's why we can get more men. So we're just trying to promote it. So we want more people to hear it because we know this is powerful. We don't think it is. We know it's powerful.
Well, and even if you want to just get on there and scrutinize, find somebody that got and say, you know, well, this is what the problem is, what they saying. Okay, so what's the solution?
Yeah.
If you got a problem with anything we saying, then give us. I'm not saying that we the end all be all. I'm saying if you got a problem, if you think it's something wrong, just show us what's right. I want to talk. I want to discuss.
Well, okay, you got to be careful with that, because if you tell somebody that, and then they start talking, and then we say, well, call in.
Yeah, say, well, tell them brothers that. Then I welcome that conversation. That's what I'm saying. I welcome that conversation. I need your help. I want your help. I'm not saying listen to what I'm saying. I'm saying help us.
Yeah, call in.
We need as many people in the huddle as possible,
because we don't know everything, and there's some insights out there that but just call in. I mean, that's all. And I know a lot of people may be afraid of the phone, but all you're going to do is ask the question or make the comment, and you can get off the phone. We're not going to hold you hostage.
This is the sacrifice my mom made.
And
I remember my dad making this sacrifice, and I think that younger people need to make this sacrifice. And maybe I agree with y'all, or maybe I disagree, and I just whatever, and just and that's open the dialogue. That's what we want. We want to know, how you think, whatever. You could get in for 10 seconds and get right back
in and get out.
So,
well, it's been a pleasure. We like to thank everybody for tuning in to the Jah and Kev. Excited about this broadcast. We're always talking do to improve the broadcast. If there's a subject matter that you want us to talk about, you can even comment and say, hey, would you guys research this? I'd like to hear about this, because a lot of people don't like to talk about this. So, but our subjects are definitely for the people. These subjects are not talking about what Kanye did, or what Jay-Z did, or what someone else. These are subjects that we need to talk about, that we need to really deal with.
You got the email, man? I don't even have the booklet, man.
You don't have the booklet? Now we messed up. We got a broadcast. I have the email, but it's the Jah and Kev show at gmail.com.
All right, Jah and Kev. He's on point. And if y'all want to contact me, inbox me or whatever, DM me. DM Jah on Cry's Womb on his Facebook page. Look him up, say, hey, I want y'all to talk about this, or why don't y'all discuss this, or what do y'all think about this? And maybe that'll be an idea for another show. Or I got a brother that want to come on. What do y'all think? Hey, we open for it. We'll discuss it and we'll see where he's at. Now, if he's talking about UFOs and Bigfoot, then be like, yeah, well, brother, why don't you just call in? But whatever, we looking for, we trying to incite revolutionary minds.
All right. So until we see you next time we meet, thank you again for tuning in to the Jah and Kev show. I'm Jah. My man right there is Kev.